You know, it seems like every few weeks a new folding smartphone gets announced. A lot of us, rightfully, justifiably, get excited about this, but then it turns out it's only going to be in China or other regions. It's not going to come to America. It's not going to come to Europe. And that's definitely a bit of a bummer. Look, it's still good that more of these things are existing because it's going to continue to push the market and push the technology forward. But it would be a whole lot cooler if we could actually buy the things in the regions that a lot of my viewers tend to live. So today we're going to talk about one of these exact kinds of things, except now it appears it might be coming to these other markets and these other regions to be purchased. Of course, we're talking about the Oppo Find N and the rumors, the reports that OnePlus is going to be taking that phone and bringing it to other markets. So let's look at a little Twitter thread I made here to kind of organize my thoughts a few days ago. This report is coming from a website called Price Baba. Now, I don't know anything about no Price Babas. I don't know if this place is legit or not, but apparently other people have kind of looked into this and have some other information on it. So apparently there is some reason to think this might be legit. But let's just look at the article here from Price Baba, and it's very, very basic. It's very short. More or less all they're saying is OnePlus is working on their first foldable smartphone. It will reportedly be very similar to the Oppo Find N, and we don't really know much more than that. So going back to my thread here, if you don't know, that's the Oppo Find N, right? This is pretty much the device. It's a device I was extremely excited about from the time that I saw it because it did something very, very different than what we're used to seeing out of a lot of these folding phones. In particular, when you compare it to something like the Z Fold. The Oppo Find N is a whole lot shorter and a whole lot wider, and when you open it up, instead of being this orientation, it's basically this orientation. It's basically take a fold and do this way and fold it that way instead, and you have the OnePlus or the Oppo Find N. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself because it's not announced as a OnePlus device yet. But that aspect ratio, that wideness, the fact that it opens up in landscape, I think makes a ton of sense. And as a Surface Duo user, that makes a lot of sense to me too, because if you get rid of the hinge here, right, and you just make this one continuous screen, that's kind of what the Oppo Find N looks like. It kind of looks like a Surface Duo without the hinge. And we're going to dive into that a little bit later about kind of why, additionally, I'm excited about this. But for now, let's stick with whether or not this is going to happen. So is this report far-fetched? Is this something that we shouldn't even be thinking about? No, I don't think that's the case at all because BBK Electronics owns Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, and Realme. Okay, so this one parent company owns all of these different brands. And we've not just seen that that's the case. We've actually seen intermingling between these different brands. As I wrote here, we've actually seen two of these companies, Oppo and OnePlus, very importantly, begin to merge their code base. There was rumor that OnePlus's operating system, their version of Android, which is called Oxygen OS, was going to go away and be replaced by Oppo's version of Android, which is called Color OS. Well, that apparently is no longer happening because people got mad. And look, Oppo's kind of the China-only version of what BBK is doing. OnePlus comes to other regions, and these Chinese-only operating systems, different sensibilities for different markets. So it didn't really make sense to merge them completely. However, they have merged the code bases, apparently. Where now they're very similar at the base, but then different things are built up on top of them. So that's important because Oppo, OnePlus are sharing software. But to further add credence to this idea, in recent months, Oppo, OnePlus, and now Realme have all released smartphones that could be described as simple rebadges of each other. Now, I know that the phone here, the OnePlus 10 Pro and the Oppo Find X Pro don't look the same, but their hardware is the same. The cameras are pretty much the same. The screens are very similar. In fact, Digital Trends did a review of these devices, and here let's read a couple of excerpts from the review. And the context of this particular excerpt was basically this reviewer saying that in the recent months they had reviewed 3 phones under this BBK banner that all looked really, really similar. And they were asking here, they all have different names, but just how different are these devices really? And he says the answer is that they are not, apart from in the minds of marketing teams. So this reviewer is saying they're really not different. And we have another excerpt here too, which we can read. The OnePlus 10 Pro is the first major release from OnePlus since the company started working more closely with Oppo, however you want to say it. So closely, in fact, that both share research and development and have a partnership with camera experts Hasselblad. Both also favor Oppo's SuperVOOC fast charging branding, and OnePlus's OxygenOS software has taken on a lot of Oppo's ColorOS software. To call them similar is perhaps an understatement. So we have a precedent for this, right? We already see Oppo, and OnePlus kind of DNA sharing back and forth, kind of already doing this kind of thing. So given the fact Oppo and OnePlus are now sharing research, making phones that are hard to differentiate, and given the fact that the Find N has not and will not see a US release, it would make some sense to slap a OnePlus logo on that hardware, which is pretty good hardware from all the different reviews I've seen, and bring it stateside. And if we look at the launch price, which would be around $1,200, now when you import it, that goes up. So a lot of you are going to say, well, I tried to import it, it was $1,600. Well, yes, because you're importing it. But if it was made for this market, the price would be closer to $1,200 for the 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 storage. And we look at the fact that the OnePlus 10 Pro came in a full $600 cheaper than the Oppo Find X5 Pro. Despite being extremely similar phones, this could indicate a truly budget-friendly alternative to the Z Fold for American customers. And if you look at this image here, I'm going to tell you right now which one I think looks more attractive, okay? And even if we don't talk about the crease down the middle, which is very much more visible on the Samsung device, I just like that aspect ratio. And again, it's not a coincidence. Why? We're going to get into this with the software here in a minute, but that to me looks like a real competitor there. Now, I do want to say let's pump the brakes maybe, because one insider that I could find reported this. OnePlus has a foldable in development, but don't expect it to be released anytime soon. So take that for what it means. I'm not saying this is coming tomorrow, right? I'm just saying that the rumors are that it is coming sometime soon. So now let's talk for a second about why I would be excited about the Oppo Find N coming to America as a OnePlus device. First off, the obvious one is just the price, but we're going to set that aside. It would be potentially an affordable folding device for people that don't want to spend $1,600, $1,700 on a Samsung Z Fold style device. Something that's closer to $1,200 obviously is something that we should all be excited about. But beyond that, this is something I've talked about in the past, and let's just do this. Let's just do a comparison. I will show you exactly why I will be excited about this. Okay, we have two devices sitting here. We have a Z Fold and we have a Surface Duo. Now, when you open up the Z Fold from its normal position, right, you're here, you're in phone mode, and it's got that super duper narrow cover display, which I really do not like, and I think that the Oppo Find N is a far superior device in terms of the cover display, which if you have not seen a comparison there, let me just show you this very quickly because it's a strikingly different experience. This is like not just like a normal phone, it's actually a bit wider than a normal phone, which if you know me, you know that I'm going to like that. But back to this. So we've got our cover display here. When you open it up and you just go to use it, you are in this orientation. You are taller than you are wide. And that's going to change the experience a little bit, in particular for someone like me who has a tendency to want to run two applications at a time. So on a device like Surface Duo, multitasking is extraordinarily simple. Let me show you how it works. So let's open up Twitter and let's open up Reddit, and there you go. You have your two apps running at a time. Let's do the same thing on the Z Fold. And with the taskbar here, it's actually relatively simple. So let's go ahead and open up Twitter, and then let's grab Reddit, and let's drag it over to one side, and now you have a multitasking setup as well. Now, there's one massive difference about this. Well, there's several massive differences about it, but the visual difference with this is look how skinny and narrow these two applications are. They are effectively the same as the cover display. Now, the taskbar here is actually making that worse. So let's get rid of the taskbar, and that'll make it a little bit better, but it's still extremely skinny. So something that I told people that I always did when I went to split screen is that I would rotate the device this way, which makes it wider than it is tall. And now I'd say, well, look at that. Now they're really pretty close. They're smaller than they are on here, obviously, but they're wide enough, and I think that the apps work much better in this way. Well, on a device like the Find N, or whatever OnePlus may call it, you don't have to do that. okay, you're removing that step of having to rotate the device. And you could say you don't have to rotate the device. I'm fine with it being two really skinny apps. I'm not. So this is about me. This is my opinion. That to me is an improvement. And then you also have to look at just how you go about launching the apps. Obviously, it's never going to be as simple as it is on Duo, where you're just launching an app and launching an app and everything's fine. Best case scenario, you use your taskbar, or you have to bring out this little multitasking thing here and drag it over. But then let's say the app you want isn't on your list. Well, then you have to open up your all apps thing and scroll through them. And I'm not so sure that that's necessarily the best way to go either. The Oppo device, though, does have another way to go about it, which I will show you here. This is an excerpt from a video from the Unlocker, his video review, his real world test. So I'm just gonna let this play for a moment and I will link to it. If you're curious about this device, go watch his video because he goes really in depth with this. But let's watch this for a moment because he talks about how multitasking works here. So the first gesture that you have is the ability to just pinch an app like that, and it will go into a windowed mode. And you can do windowed mode on the Z Fold as well, but that's how it works on there. It's a different gesture. But more interestingly to me is how you get into split window. So this gesture here, he takes two fingers and swipes down, and the app that's open slides over to the left, and then he just has his desktop. He has the desktop that he's used to seeing. This is kind of Duo-ish to me. And then he's able to just launch another app just like you kind of would on Duo. So in my mind, this is kind of what I'm wondering. Is that better than what you have on the Samsung device? So you open up an app and you're using it, you want to open up a second device, swipe down, there's your desktop. So you effectively added one step additional from just being Duo. Because on Duo, you open one app and that second desktop is always there. Well, on the Oppo device, all you have to do is open up an app and do one gesture, and then your desktop is there just like it is on Duo. And like I said, I just have to wonder, might that be a better solution? So at that point, you've got the wider display with two apps that are much wider and to me look much better. But then you also have a gesture that might actually be superior to the taskbar approach. Now, I may be wrong about that. I may get this thing in my hands and I may go, oh no, the taskbar is really good for other reasons. And there are other reasons why the taskbar is really, really good, and I really do like it. For instance, the fact that you can just very quickly switch between open apps like this, I really do like that ability to just jump from app to app very, very quickly. And then if you want a split screen one, you can just drag it over. All right. So I'm not saying that any of that's bad at all. I'm just saying that Oppo has a really interesting solution here. And when you pair it with the fact that it opens up already in a wider than it is tall kind of setup, I think it's going to be really good because, you know, here you've got that additional step of having to rotate. So I'm all about removing steps, simplifying the process. And on Duo, the process is the simplest. So I want whatever is the closest to that level of simplicity, and perhaps this device is it. Go watch his review because he goes over the cameras and all kinds of other stuff too. The cameras look okay. They look pretty solid. They definitely look good enough for me to be excited about this device. So guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Am I crazy for getting excited about something that's probably still months out? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for making it to the end of today's video. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.